Something massive just dropped. And if you are not paying attention right now, you are going to miss one of the most important moments in global history. The Pentagon, the most powerful military building on the face of this earth, has just sent a direct warning to Iran. Not a letter, not a phone call, a warning. The kind of warning that makes world leaders stop eating, put down their forks, and pick up the phone. This is not a movie. This is not a drill. This is happening right now, today, in real time, and every second that passes, the stakes are getting higher. Now, before we go deep into what was said, who said it, and what Iran is doing about it, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because this channel is where the real news lives. No noise, no confusion, just the truth broken down so clearly that even your grandmother will understand exactly what is going on in this world. Now, let us talk about what the Pentagon actually is. Because to understand how serious this warning is, you need to understand who is doing the warning. The Pentagon is not just a building. It is the command center of the United States military. It houses the Secretary of Defense. It coordinates the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. When the Pentagon speaks, every military on this planet listens. Friend or enemy, they all listen. So when the Pentagon points a finger directly at Iran and says, "We see you, we know what you are doing, and there will be consequences," that is not small talk. That is the sound of a door being kicked open. But what exactly triggered this? What did Iran do? Or what is Iran planning to do that pushed the most powerful military force in human history to come out publicly with a direct warning? That answer is coming, and it is going to change how you see everything that is happening in the Middle East right now. Stay right here, and if you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button for more. So here is where the story really starts to get heavy. For months, quietly, carefully, in the shadows, Iran has been making moves, not the kind of moves you see on the evening news, the kind of moves that intelligence agencies track at the 3 in the morning, the kind of moves that make generals sit up straight in their chairs and say something is coming. Iran has been supplying weapons to groups that the United States considers direct threats, drones, missiles. Every time an American base gets hit in the Middle East, every time a U.S.-backed ally comes under fire, the trail leads back to the same place, Tehran. Now, the United States has known this for a long time, but knowing something and doing something about it are two very different things. For a while, Washington was playing at careful diplomatic language, back-channel conversations, quiet pressure behind closed doors, but something changed. Something shifted. And whatever that thing was, it was serious enough to make the Pentagon decide that quiet was no longer an option. Senior U.S. defense officials came out and made it clear Iran is escalating, not maintaining, not holding steady, escalating. And the word escalating in military language is one of the most dangerous words you will ever hear. It means the other side is turning up the heat on purpose. It means they are testing limits. It means they want to see exactly how far they can go before someone pushes back. And now someone is pushing back. The Pentagon's warning was not delivered with soft words. It was deliberate. It was public. And it was aimed directly at the leadership in Tehran, not at the Iranian people, not at Iranian diplomats, at the decision makers, the ones who give the orders. That is a very specific kind of message. And it means the United States is no longer interested in speaking quietly through middlemen. Now, here's what most people do not know. And this is the part that should make every single person watching this channel sit forward in their seat. This warning did not come alone. There were military movements happening at the exact same time. Ships, aircraft, repositioning of forces in the region. And when words and weapons move together, that is when the world needs to pay very close attention. Now, this is where things get very, very real. At the same time, the Pentagon was delivering that warning. The United States military was not just talking, it was moving. And in the world of military strategy, movement is its own language. It speaks louder than any press conference, louder than any statement released to the media. When you move ships and aircraft into position, you are not just making a point, you are making a promise. The U.S. Navy repositioned carrier strike groups closer to the region. Now, for those who do not know what a carrier strike group is, imagine a floating city that carries fighter jets, missiles, radar systems, and thousands of trained military personnel. It does not just sail around for fun. When a carrier strike group moves, every military intelligence unit in the world takes notice. Russia notices, China notices, and Iran absolutely notices. But it did not stop there. The U.S. Air Force also moved additional aircraft into bases across the Middle East, long-range bombers, the kind of aircraft that can reach targets deep inside enemy territory without needing to land and refuel, the kind of aircraft that Iran's military planners lose sleep over. Now, why does all of this matter? Because Iran is not a small country. Iran has one of the largest militaries in the Middle East. It has ballistic missiles that can travel hundreds of miles. It has a navy operating in the Persian Gulf, most strategically important bodies of water on this planet. It has proxy forces spread across multiple countries, trained and armed and ready to act on orders from Tehran. So when the United States decides to send a warning to Iran, it cannot just be words. Because Iran has heard words before. Iran has sat through sanctions. Iran has watched diplomats come and go. What Iran pays attention to, what every serious military power pays attention to, is capability and positioning. Are you close enough to act? Are you ready enough to follow through? And right now, the answer to both of those questions is yes. But here's the part that makes this moment different from every other U.S. and Iran standoff in recent history. And there have been many. The tension between these two countries goes back decades. There have been moments where the world held its breath and then slowly exhaled when things cooled down. This time, the cooling is not happening. Iranian officials are not backing down. They are not issuing calming statements. They are not calling for dialogue. Instead, voices from inside the Iranian government are firing back, saying that any aggression will be met with a response that America will not forget, that Iran is not afraid, that the resistance will continue. And when two sides are both talking about consequences at the same time, that is not diplomacy anymore. That is a countdown. Iran responded, and the response was not quiet. It was not careful. It was not the language of a country that is looking for a way out. It was the language of a country that has decided, right or wrong, that it is not going to blink. Iranian state media came out almost immediately after the Pentagon's warning went public, and the tone was sharp. The message from senior Iranian military commanders was direct. The Islamic Republic does not receive threats. It responds to them. Those were not the words of a government that is looking to sit down at a negotiating table anytime soon. Those were the words of a government that is speaking directly to its own people, as much as it is speaking to Washington. And that is a very important thing to understand. Because when leaders speak in public during moments of military tension, they are always talking to two audiences at the same time. They are talking to the enemy, and they are talking to their own population. Iran's leadership needs its people to believe that the country is strong, that it is not intimidated, that no matter how loud Washington speaks, Tehran will not bow down. This is about pride. This is about politics. This is about decades of history between two countries that have never trusted each other and have come dangerously close to open conflict more times than most people realize. But let us go deeper, because the Iranian response was not just words either. Iranian forces conducted military exercises in the Persian Gulf shortly after the Pentagon's warning. Now military exercises during a period of high tension are never just exercises. They are signal. They are Iran saying, look at what we can do. Look at how ready we are. Look at how close we are to the waters that the world depends on for oil. The agreement that has been building quietly for years. China does not want a war in the Middle East, not because it loves peace, but because a war in the Middle East disrupts the oil supply that China's massive economy depends on. China also does not want to see the United States flex its military muscle successfully in that region. Every time America projects power without consequences, it makes China's own ambitions in other parts of the world look more difficult. So China is in a delicate position. It cannot openly support Iran's aggression without looking like it endorses destabilizing behavior. But it also cannot support American pressure on Iran without undermining its own partnerships and its own global narrative of opposing Western dominance. So China is doing what China does best in these situations. It is calling for dialogue. It is calling for restraint. It is putting out statements that sound balanced and peaceful while quietly watching to see who comes out on top. Then there's Europe. America's traditional allies, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, are in a difficult position of their own. They have spent years trying to keep the Iran nuclear deal alive. They have invested diplomatic energy into the idea that engagement with Iran is better than confrontation. The Pentagon's direct warning complicates that strategy significantly, because if the United States is moving toward a more aggressive posture against Iran, Europe has to decide, do we stand with our most important military ally, or do we keep pushing for the diplomatic path that Washington is clearly losing patience with? The world is more connected than it has ever been. A conflict in the Middle East is not a distant problem for people in other parts of the world. It affects fuel prices, it affects food prices, it affects global shipping, it affects the decisions that governments make about where to spend money, whether on schools and hospitals or on weapons and defense. It affects the mood of markets. It affects the stability of currencies. It ripples outward in ways that touch ordinary lives in ordinary places that are thousands of miles from the Persian Gulf. This is not someone else's problem. This is everybody's problem. And the most powerful thing an ordinary person can do in a world where these decisions are being made by a small number of powerful people is to stay informed, to understand what is actually happening beyond the headlines, to know the difference between noise and signal, to be the kind of person who is not shocked when the world shifts, because they were paying attention before the shift happened. That is what this channel exists for. Not to frighten, not to sensationalize, but to give real information in real language that real people can actually understand and use. The Pentagon has sent its warning. Iran has responded. The world is watching, and this story is far from over. If this breakdown gave you clarity, if it helped you understand something that felt confusing before, then share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because informed people make better decisions. Informed communities ask better questions. And in a world moving this fast, questions are the most powerful thing any of us have. Subscribe. Stay close, because the next development in this story could come at any moment. And when it does, this channel will be right here, ready to break it down, ready to make it plain, ready to make sure that no matter what happens in this world, you will never be the last to know.